So I'm going to talk about the unicorns today. They're small animals who create the success stories, who create thousands jobs, who bring investors in. But I'm going to talk about Estonia and Ukraine, because Estonia is a miracle land of unicorns where you can see them alive, you can touch them, you can analyze them, and Ukraine, where we're only starting this way. So I'm going to talk about outlook of which is not traditional, how people impact each other, how this impact wave is created, and the miracle happens. You probably don't know that. A young man, this is Toivo, he's the founder of Skype. Who? Did you know that Skype originated from Estonia? You know, majority know that Skype originated from Estonia, because every company that you associate with the country helps the success story of the country. So you create a myth that this is great, Estonia is a digital country of Skype. And Toivo is one of the 4 founders of Skype who got out of the eBay sales a lot of money. They received 100 millions for 4 people and started investing this money in new startups. They not just got the cash and started enjoying themselves, but started to create an ecosystem and the next subsequent stories of success. So he invested into 50 next startups, and the next founder of Skype, who he heard jokes about himself that he's not a shareholder but a first employee. He was also from there, but he founded a company Waze. Have you used the program Waze? It's a system for money transfer. Tavid, when he was still young, progressive young man, he saw the problem, decided to solve it. He lived in London, and when he lived in London, he realized that to transfer money through banks, it's too expensive. You got to create some alternative, and they created this kind of platform, Waze. Why it was cool? Because I'm gonna look into their evolution a little bit. But from one success story of Skype, another success story was born, and in 10 years, the company had grown by $11 billion, and it's the most expensive IPO, London's stock exchange, of all times, when they did it last year. So from then on, Estonia received not only the first unicorns, but the first billionaires. And I was told jokingly that you cannot compare things like that, but I did it. So now David Henrikus, I think, has as many assets as our Zhivago and these old school capitalists, post-Soviet capitalists. Why is it important? He has the shares, he has the money, but he started investing more. And this is the continuation of the chain. First Skype, then TransferWise, then Wise, and his next investment was in a young team. There was a 19-year-old young guy, Marcus, who realized at the time that taxi companies are so yesterday, these old transport fleets. You got to create a platform, and next you know. Who knows Bolt? Well, you still know Skype, do you? So in his 19 years, he complained to someone, I need some start capital, and I understand what I'm doing, I'm going to disrupt the market. And he received the starting capital where? And also from his mother, Marcus, who used to work where? In Skype. You guessed it right. So what I'm saying is that if you have some progressive, forward-thinking business people, then the success is multiplied. And in the long run, not only does it multiply through creation of next great companies, but the same kind of vibe, the same like-minded people got together again, Tavet and Martin, and they created the next wave, not only of startups, but a school. Estonia had about 8,000 missing or vacancies in IT companies, 8,000. So we need to build them, we need to train them, and schools cannot catch up with that. So they need to take it into their hands. So they founded now together the school without teachers. There's this 2-year program where the students come, the students together solve problems in the software, and in the end they get placement in the IT company potentially. So that's how success stories beget other success stories and change the world not only through money. So I'd like to showcase you that there are 7 unicorns in Estonia now. It's a small country, 1.3 million people, but it so happened that as the snowball started rolling, Skype gave them exposure. Exposure means that investors start to look into the country. Maybe something else interesting is there. When something happened, it's not randomly. The next $1 billion company, another $1 billion company, and then they start looking into the country. Maybe it's worth coming in there. And at the same time, in Estonia, every year there's a next 1 billion capitalization company. So it's in Ukraine, though, it's still very much rather behind. So the definition is that if the main founders are from this country, or the head office is there in the country, or the whole R&D and top manager is in the country, then you can say that it's probably our unicorn, may count as such. So let's compare. GitLab. Do you know GitLab? Great. So less than Skype. All right. Grammarly. Oh, that's great. Firefly. Do you know Firefly? Well, let me tell you. I suspected that. And People AI. So it's very important that they're not just created these success stories, but people would get exposure. People would know about the success stories. And then the next wave of young entrepreneurs understand that I know this person, we can create a new success story. But if we look into the way of one such unicorn, Vice, so the story is that when they created the system, they attracted the next year funding and the market capitalization. Why is it important? Because it wasn't one random coincidence. Like eBay bought Skype. All right, they bought Skype. What next? And it was every year these 2 young guys won over better and better investors, said that it's worth investing in them. So it's like an ideal story that I don't think it's possible to replicate it, and everybody has to find their own miracle story if it ever happens. So if you look at these Estonian unicorns, in 10 years they managed to build from scratch to 1 billion. Those who built before, they capitalized on their previous success. Well, because there's a cemetery startups that didn't take off. It doesn't mean that I'm going to build it for 10 years and I'm guaranteed $1 billion. No, it's 0.001% chance. So what led to all of that? And what do we have in Ukraine in this regard? First of all, it's very important. I know to create anything, you need an ecosystem. If there's a trust to government, to the state, because people live here, you pay taxes here, education system is local. So if we say that capital doesn't know borders, it does know borders, because it either stays in the country and grows, or it goes away, or is moved away. And just like many other our success stories say, thank you for this country for giving me education, but I'm going to build my business elsewhere, because an environment plays an important role. You have to trust the environment that they won't just take everything from you. So Estonia has one of the best tax system, although they don't have physical entity entrepreneurship status. And they have great educational system and easiness of doing business. It's easy to do business in my country. I don't need to go away. I don't have any limitations. I can find people. I can register intellectual property, patents, anything. And as a result, those companies that I showcased for you, they build and they live in their own country. They're not some mythical creatures, some founders who moved to the US and you can see them somewhere on Forbes list. Those are just people living in Estonia. They have companies where most of the employees are Estonian. They have thousands of employees that continue living in this country and create jobs and tell and share success stories about Estonia. Why am I telling you all of this? Because to show that the foundation of everything is trust. Trust makes people want to keep business in their country. In Ukraine, we still have problems with that. But what's your feeling? In a couple of recent years, does the digitalization go in the right direction? Let's vote. Who thinks in such a way? Well, that's already a little bit better. If I asked about the tax system, there would be less hands up in the air. But it's okay. That gives me a little hope that it's not that bad. So we have 1 billion company. That means we can scale up the business. We can attract and sell businesses to investors. They have trust in this country. But on the other hand, we're on the way where we are bound to copy paste Estonian experience, and we have to complement the Ministry of Digitalisation. So they decided not to invent the bicycle, but already to take the templates, part of ecosystems. There's a foundation of foundations. The state says we're not the smartest guys, and it's great that they say so. That we need to take governmental money, partners, and put it into private management. So if there was a foundation that did successful investments in Ukraine, like T Adventures, why do we think that the government will be smarter in their investments? You should trust that to those who can manage properly. In Estonia, there are also many business angels. There are entrepreneurs who invest in the startup companies. They understand that they can take more risk and invest in their communication, knowledge, skills. That was happened with Skype. It was not just like we have too much money available. Let's give them money. No, we have experience, but we also have experience. We created a billion member company or 100 million members. So you need to understand how to package your product, how to attract investors, how to find connections, how to do that. I know somebody who knows somebody, and it's also important. Business angels. Estonia has them. Ukraine doesn't have them. We understand that we need to create business angel schools. T Adventure also creates some clubs in London that attracts investors, because let's co-invest something. Let's try Ukraine. Ukraine is not so scary, and they create the next precedent, the next success story. It's also Ukrainian startup fund, still governmental money that is allocated to the startups. If it's going to be successful or not, we'll see. I don't know. But I'm a dinosaur. I'm for 25 years in IT, and I started by coding, and I got paid for that, not just programming, but I was the fourth employee of the Estonian Foundation of Startup Technologies, because at some point in 2004, Estonia said, okay, we had Skype, but what do we need? We need to multiply Skype, not just let's wait and see maybe the next Skype comes along, but we have to do something about it. We don't have business angels. Let's create the foundations who help investments. We gotta help create clubs, etc. And there was this interesting analytical approach to everything, that what's not in the ecosystem, where is this valley of death where they go to die, and how the state should help them. I agree. I'm proponent of the government not standing in the way, that the state should not stand in the way. But there's a good example of Estonia, where I was this first employee of the fourth startup development fund in Estonia. The state decided that, yeah, we have problems with venture capital. There are no investors, so we should help with that. And they created a governmental fund. The state issued a fund so that they could co-invest with investors. So if you found a private investor, we will match their investment. They bear less risks, They need less money to invest. The state supports that. And in 10 years, venture funds started appearing, and the state doesn't need to invest so much. And the smart state said, okay, we played our role. They're already great funds. They're great investors. And they shut this program. Okay, the market works itself by itself. You have to don't stand in the way. Where it doesn't work, as an example, there's no money, right? Why can we talk about startups if we have nothing to invest? These problems should be resolved and can be resolved by the state, because everybody needs educational system. How do you understand entrepreneurship? Do you have math at school? And all these small things that the state has put forth for the people to grow. If there's digitalization as our main trend, we will copy paste some small pieces of ecosystem of Estonia, because you don't need to invent the bicycle. But just an example, why I asked you about Firefly, I think it's a great example. As a Ukrainian entrepreneur from Zaporizhia, Max Polyakov, and at some point he said, I have a dream. He created a program that analyzes satellite images, how much woods had burned or different climate catastrophes. Through satellite imagery, he analyzes the state. And what do you need to have a good analysis? We need many pictures. What do you need to have many pictures? You need frequent samples of pictures. You need many satellites. So you have to create your own satellite. And Max's company, the next company, created their own satellite, and now they are producing them in Dnipro, in the capital of new space programs. What they need next, so for the satellites not to sit at the manufacturing line, but to go to orbit, you need missiles, you need rockets. And Max decided that, okay, I see the goal. We need to create the first Ukrainian rocket that dates back from very historical times. And they launched this rocket 2 days ago, literally 2 days ago, from Texas, though. I can talk about airspace for a long time. I can have a dream too. But they couldn't launch out of Ukraine. Okay. But more than 1,000 people worked on this rocket that they launched in Texas, and Max basically went the same way. There's a small company that it scales up, then they get new investors, and today it's also a space unicorn, the company is called. And 2 days ago, as I said, the rocket was launched in Vandenberg, Texas. And what's happened? What people usually say? Well, crap happened. Their rocket exploded. They don't know why. What's going to happen now? But you can take a different look. As Max said, life is hard, but always interesting. Full attack. So yeah, it fell, but it stayed in the air the longest time of all of their old rockets. It's just the beginning, and it's all about attitude. If they believe, if they invest in our country, then life is hard and always interesting. Thank you. How to launch a product that has no similar products in the market. Hi, it's a little cool today. So this presentation, I started assembling in it the experience that I gathered since 2017 somewhere. At that time, we in the digital consulting agency, Olshansky Partners, more and more different products started coming, new products, and we need to somehow promote those products. So what I show you today, I will basically show you my own constructor kit, a model of sorts, how you should think and how you should act if you want to promote your new products. Does anybody have this kind of task to promote your products? Can you raise your hands? All right. So, okay, great. Then it's going to be a useful session for you. So look, In general, we tried different methodologies. It used to be a customer development. Do you know what customer development approach is? Then it was a little later jobs to be done. Do you know what jobs to be done is? Great. So basically, what it's AR, a pirate matrix, less people. Okay, each question, less and less people. Okay, AR. In 2008, they presented methodology that shows what stages you should go to launch a product on the market. But all of that was not enough. For me, it was not enough because it didn't give me any practical, what to do specifically. What's the problem of the AR approach? There are too many metrics. There are many metrics that you can measure: the NPS, the CSI, the CPA, number of leads, etc. So there are a lot of metrics that you can use to manage it. If you deal with analytics, a good analyst can generate 150 metrics in your dashboard, and you need to keep them somehow, all of them. And the question is different. How do you impact these metrics for them to grow? And that's what it's all about. And I'm going to try and spend these 15 minutes to squeeze into them this long a story, this big mind map that I've been creating all this time. And the main idea or an overview is what should your customer think, what idea it should generate in their mind. Look, in their mind, what idea the client should generate to enter the next stage of your funnel, of your sales cycle. And we applied it on different projects. There were investments. We used to have, in one day, we attracted $1 million worth of investments, partially through this methodology. We sold olive trees as a way of investment. We promoted products that will help replace visits to cosmetologists when we had a quarantine, when it was everything was shut down. We used this methodology to promote a product, a method that writes in the blockchain information about the car, a story of the car, VIN code, etc. So, you know what KYC in finance? Know your clients. So in marketing, it's a little different. It's about other things. In marketing, it's to know very well what your customer needs, what kind of tasks they have, what they face, what problems they have, and so the task is systemic. The biggest problem that we're trying to solve is it should be a system. People who don't know anything about your new product, to draw the line to people who know this product and who can advise it, who can recommend it. That's the great task that you have to launch if you launch new products. So if you look at the general overview of what your customers need, they always want cheaper, more reliable, faster, what Amazon does, but they also sometimes want to they want to handle their problems differently. Nobody knew that you could use Bolt scooters. At some point, you probably caught yourself thinking, yeah, could I do that? Yeah, you could. Nobody knew that you can sell olive trees as a way of investment. Buy one olive tree and then it will grow for 400 years. Could you do that? Yeah, you could do that. And so this kind of innovation is what I like personally. And basically, this approach, this methodology that I'm going to tell you about, is specifically aimed at helping you answer the question what to do. So that from a foreigner, from a complete person who's not familiar with your product, leading them to the stage where they would recommend your product to their friends. That's my personal methodology. You won't find it in books. I haven't read about it. I've come up with it based on experience of many, many projects. It all starts with having prerequisites to something. There's spontaneous sales. There's spontaneous purchases. Have you ever had spontaneous purchase? What have you purchased spontaneously just recently? Something bigger than a chocolate bar at the cash box, right? At the cash register. Netflix, tickets, right. That's great. Netflix or tickets. Well, it wasn't spontaneous purchase. Something happened in your life before the moment where you bought Netflix or tickets, movie tickets. Something preceded the situation. Something created a context where you already were, and you used Netflix or tickets to resolve some kind of problem for yourself, some kind of ambition, a goal, a wish, a desire. Sometimes it's just longing, You're longing for something, but I don't know what, and you find it and you buy it. And then it happens spontaneously for you. In fact, it's not spontaneous. So when you do promotion of your products, you have to understand what were the prerequisites, what happened in the life of your client. And there can be many such situations. Something, the pension reform didn't work. Somebody doesn't get paid their pension. It would seem like this doesn't impact you selling olive trees, but part of your customers live in that context. You're just unaware of that. Or the next stage, the idea. If you sow the seed of the idea in the head of your customer, you can move to the next stage without getting to a short list. We were doing a brand promotion of kitchen utensils. There's Bosch, there's Gorenia, so we tried to get into a short list. There's Whirlpool, but the brand needed at least to get into the short list. The customer needs to at least take note of you. But you, as owners of projects, should think the following way: what can we do so that the idea about our product stays in the head of our potential customer? That's the key thing. What we can do so that our potential customer gets stuck with the idea about our company. Not just launch advertisement, not just let's run some videos on YouTube, not like let's hire an SMM person in our company. No, all that are techniques. The strategy, though, is so that the next stage you help different types of customers to understand how their life will change with your new product. When I realized that, here's what difference is between launching a standard solution like a banner or an ad. Will that help you? Will that help this group of customers to understand how their new life will look like? It's a transition, which in books you can read about it as a customer-oriented type of management. But I've never had a tool that would tell me what questions should I ask when I build marketing companies to understand if that's a customer-oriented company or not. Or campaign. Is it customer-oriented campaign or not? It's a thin line. I'm going to try and illustrate it with example. When you or your customers encounter the idea of a new product like Toyota RAV4 hybrid, does somebody use that car? Of course. So first you saw it. First you received a new job. You got a promotion. I hope you got a promotion just recently. And then you think, how can I reach my new job? And so the barriers will be like $40,000, your first barrier that you're going to think about when you think about Toyota RAV4 Hybrid. But a great salesperson will tell you that the first 2 years of Toyota servicing are for free. And you say, oh, great, the price doesn't play any role, it's free. That's what you call to use great counter arguments. And your customers will have many of them. There are primary, there are secondary. We're going to talk about them some more. And on the fifth stage, I call it using. So your goal here is to help satisfied customers express their satisfaction to the people around. You have to program how these customers will tell the stories about your product. Those are 5 big stages. Each of them, I have 6 minutes remaining, right? Okay, let's get deeper now. So each of these stages has many nuances. So I grouped them by points, like external pushes. We saw that somebody receives a promotion and starts thinking, how should I use my new money that I will be making on the new position? And you have to understand in what context your customer exists. Next is internal changes, the desires and fears, and the situation which results are dissatisfactory. So we did analyze one of the products, and the situation we encountered is that a piece of bologna that we eat before we go to sleep, the situation that repeats itself, we don't like it, but we forget about all of it tomorrow, and we eat the same piece of bologna. So if you sell healthy food, that can be one of your contexts or prerequisites within which you're entering the proper promotion of your product. And there's also the most complex situation, which is called passive observation and idle observation. That can also be your context. If you have a story about your product, if you not just sell, but you can entertain your audience, idle observers, then it can be also a prerequisite to enter the marketing of your product. The next stage is the idea. Your customer needs to tell you, okay, I get it now. And they remember tomorrow, so you get the thought, the information into their head. And this is where some of the key things is the phrase, I'm interested. You need to program the idea, aha, I'm interested. I got it. I dig it. And there will be questions here. How does that work? Why do you need it? What are the alternatives? Etc., etc. There are many questions there. So your objective here is to find the answer. And we're helping with our marketing to answer this question. Are you helping the customer to answer the question, what's the alternative, what it is? Are you visible somewhere externally where they can compare you with alternatives? And when you start asking this question that follow that logic, the customer journey, or these 5 steps, when you start asking yourselves these questions, you suddenly will understand that your whole marketing was basically based on 2 or 3 points out of 24. Sometimes it's such a huge discovery for people. When I started thinking like that, when I started looking at marketing projects, It was a revelation for me. Like, wow, we're not doing anything out of marketing. We're just saying what it is and how it works. We don't work with objections, with some new life. We're not doing any marketing per se, and everybody agrees. They start redoing everything, the whole concept, the whole marketing campaign. So there are certain states where the customer needs to understand that the problem that they're trying to resolve through this product are best solved through this specific product, your product. You have to ask yourself a question. What materials, videos, banners, do you use in your marketing? And what of that helps the customer understand that your product solves their problem better than other products on the market? Which of that will program their mind to know that it's the best that they could have in this situation? Next story is the new life. If you're interested, there's a whole presentation. The whole mind map is available at this link. You can download it. I'm just giving you the most important. The new life is to make the customer see themselves in the new life with this new product. And this is where some of the cunning things to do. It's like with learning English. A very relevant thing for everybody. I don't believe in myself that I can use this project and change my life for better. Like we have a project of learning English, and the customer just doesn't believe in themselves. We, as strategy creators, we have to understand how can you make your customer believe in themselves, that they can really use the product, like this language course, and really improve their life for better. So when you understand how profound that is, that you're not doing anything for people to believe in themselves, then it opens huge opportunities to change and to accomplish. A very specific story is to believe, I as a customer, I should believe that this is the product that solves my problem in my situation. That's what we call segmentation, clusterization. The customer should believe that this solves that situation. And we use simple tools. Next, we talk about barriers. We're going to find some super interesting thing. To understand that you are in the good financial time and place. Usually, the simplest way to do it is to give them a 50% discount. Now they understand that they are ready to buy it right here and right now. But that's the simplest way to do it. There are many other ways to do it as well. And the last thing, the customer needs to explain, or to be able to explain, what the product gave them in their new life. And you should program even what words they should use to describe this new life and the benefits they have. So if you're on the first step, you're not thinking about how they will tell about this product on step 5, you probably lost already in this battle for your customers' thinking. So there's a QR code where you can add me on Facebook, and I'm gonna maybe try and send you something. My own approach.